it's crap. Who has the biggest ass at Wayne State? Who has the herp? I was on this once, and I was on the Wayne State page, and a person wrote on there that they just found out they were HIV positive. Now, is it true or not? Again, all of this is hard to... One challenge of all this is, it's almost like Wikipedia. If it relies on others to develop it and build it, then how much of it is truth and how much of it is made up? But when we had that situation with the person saying HIV positive, we did some investigation. Got on the phone with general counsel and we did some investigation, because that's what's being exchanged on these bathroom walls. But the sad thing about it is students use it. I mean, here, the sororities they just obsess on this. And they make 12 replies. And what we try and tell them is, don't respond. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a noise. But again, go back to student development theory. They're shaping their identity. And if they're shaping their identity, they worry about what other people say about them, and they're going to fight back. So it's both a pro and a con on helping them shape that identity. This is campus gossip. Again, here, frat, what is it? Frat tanks get slutty. I mean, come on. But that's out there. That's what they're looking at. That's where they are at developmentally. So it's our job to move them away from this and move them to the other ways to help them positively grow. Here's campusgossipraw.com. Someone's out there making money off of this. Okay. They are disgusting, but why shouldn't we block them? Let's talk. I'm not a lawyer, but I spent a lot of time with them. Let's talk about that. One is free speech. It's free speech. Secondly, they're not hosted on the campus. We have no jurisdiction over them. When these college aides, I've had it where they'll write me, how can you let this be at Wayne State? We should block this from the computing area. We shouldn't let this website be accessed from the Wayne State network. Well, it's free speech. Don't read it. Ignore it. And students will find other ways to view them. They're all carrying multimedia phones now, so they're pulling it down on the Verizon network or the iPhone network. They're pulling it down. They're going to find it. And this is one. If you block one offensive site, you better be prepared to block all of them. And again, it's subjective. It's not saying anything about a person. If I say I'm going to kill Janet, that's different. This is just talking, generally about what they feel about a sorority. That's a threat. We'll talk about that here in a second. So what we have to interpret is threat versus just idle gossip. Holding colleges responsible for stopping harassment of students on gossip sites in cyberspace sets up an impossible standard for colleges to meet. Can you imagine having to monitor these 24/7? Just not possible. What can we do? You have to look at threatening someone versus insinuation versus subjective comments. So when I used that earlier, I said, I'm going to kill. That's a threat. We're going to address that. We're going to go after that. But I remember someone said, we'll have things that say, this sorority is blah, blank, blank, blank. It's gossip. We had one, though, a few years ago where someone posted, meet me behind this building at this time because that's where I'm going to fight you. And that was turned into us. So we looked into it. So we don't go looking for it, but when it's brought to us, this is what we have to think through. And then fighting words. Okay. Again, it's inflicting. It's a whole judgment. And we sat in on a teleconference, myself and Tim Michael from Housing and Linda Delante, It was a webinar, Linda from General Counsel, and it goes back and forth on how these are being interpreted on college campuses. And then there's where we hit it is on the acceptable use of university technology. So if we have a conduct case that comes in, we're determining how are you using our technology. That happens a lot with downloads, that's separate from here. But it's what's the use of university technology. Defamation is unprotected speech. Defamation is libel or slander that involves. But this becomes a difficult pursuit on what amounts to a public bulletin board. Like that college ACB. Okay, so how can we turn it around and make it positive? Confront the behavior. I mean, I can, if someone comes to talk to you about it, confront the behavior. Talk to the student. Think about where they are developmentally and talk with them. Why do you think that person's dead? Why do you give in? Why do you write back? Why does this bother you? How could you change it? How could you make it positive? Discuss the behavior. Refer back. What good comes from a negative? How can we grow? So if someone comes to you and says, well, we're hearing this, this, and this, we're upset about this, this, and this, turn it around. Make it a positive. And one thing a lot of this says, the golden rule, do unto others as you'd want done unto you. A lot of students don't realize this because, students only, again, their identity development is a process. They don't look a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. They look an hour, 2 hours, 1 week down the road. But this is very real with admissions to graduate professional schools, jobs and careers, fellow students. Unforeseen consequences. If they say something on a website or on Facebook that's counter to something else they claimed, you'd say, well, I'm sorry, I was in the hospital and that's why I couldn't do my paper. Yet then somehow it is found out that they were out partying and their picture is there at the same time. And what you post can be used against you. We had a student who posted lots of pictures with lots of alcohol in their residence hall room. We went after them. How many of you, when you do a job search, do you Google that person's name? Do you check Facebook on that person? I do. I don't have that. I don't hire positions that frequently, but we check them out. And that happens more. That happens all the time now in the employment world. So we have to teach our students about that, about their future identity development. So what can you do to use Facebook to your advantage as a faculty member, as a staff member at the university? Set up a page. Provide insights on your classes and your research. Provide updates on what you're doing. You're at a conference, post there that this is what you're learning. This is what's happening. This is what you're going to bring back to class next week. Post pictures to your site. Let students know you're a real person. Again, you have to think about good versus bad. You don't want your page to turn into college ACB. But let's say you walk the Mackinac Bridge on Labor Day. Post a photo. I wouldn't post anything private. I wouldn't post pictures with your kids. I wouldn't post where you live. But, your hobbies, your activities. Tie it back to your classroom. This is where I was. This is, I was this service learning. Hey, this was a service learning project. Okay. And then, tweets on Twitter, I can tell you I myself don't mess with that because it can be overwhelming. But some people like it. And you can set up a tweet of, here's what's going on. Don't forget, tomorrow's paper's due. We have the broadcast messaging system on the campus, and I know you can activate that through Blackboard, so you might do that. But I think that the page, because that's where the students